Any Gator fans out there? Outstanding defensive end there. Led his team to the 1998 Citrus Bowl and 1999 Orange Bowl wins. And at the University of Florida, he was inducted into the University of Florida Hall of Fame in 2000. He was a Goodwill Gator Award winner 1998, 99, and 2000 for his community service and all he did for those in need. He also received from the University of Florida the Blue Key Award, which was the highest, most prestigious award. So this is not just a strong man in the physical. This is a man who cares about people, who knows how to serve people in need as well. Also played for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and also was now moved into the WWE as a superstar, a fixture on Raw and SmackDown. But all that fame and all of that God has given him, he is used for the good. He is known to be a community speaker in many different venues, that he speaks free of charge, as he is doing today. Free of charge that he's doing today. Right. In schools, he speaks a lot in schools. Of course, he has a Be a Star community speech. In schools also, he talks about literacy, how important it is to learn to read, and how he talks about the importance of schools and getting your education. He also speaks on anti-bullying. I'll tell you what, he'll take care of any bullies, right? He'll take care of them. If you got any bullies, bring them in. He also speaks to Special Olympics and Olympians, and also for our U.S. military. He has been a speaker as well. His most important role in life, Thaddeus says, though, is to his sons, TJ, 10, and Titus, who is 8 years of age. His commitment to fatherhood has earned him the 2015 Mega Dad Award, being named the Celebrity Dad of the Year in 2015. Thaddeus, we appreciate so much your commitment to being a dad, to being a husband, to being a Christian, and to being someone who speaks to our schools, military, Special Olympics, etc., etc., etc. And we're honored to have him here today at the sanctuary here in Deland, Florida. Would you give Thaddeus Bullard, Titus O'Neill, a big hand and round of applause? Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Good morning. I didn't know how this thing is going to work, because it's like really small and I'm really big. So, well, I just needed to correct a few things. Number one, I don't always speak free of charge. I don't want anybody out there just sending me inboxes, messages on Facebook saying, "Hey, man, come visit me in Timbuktu, and we'll take care of your hotel." Secondly, Mark, the gentleman that was up there, if we're going to get ready for a game day, let's try to put on some orange and blue. I think he may be the only Michigan fan in the entire state of Florida. And then thirdly, he read off a lot of my accomplishments, but one thing, I'm not a husband, so I am single. Yeah, I was a husband. But all things don't always turn out the way we plan them to. I've been divorced now for 6 years from the mother of my 2 children. I still love her dearly. Sometimes things just don't work out. I know there's probably some people in the sanctuary here today that have gone and experienced divorce. Divorce is not death. It's just an opportunity for you to, number one, in my opinion, for me, divorce was the best thing that ever happened to me, because I don't think I'd be where I am today if I was still in the marriage that I was in. But I believe in marriage, and I will be married again one day, but it has not stopped me from continuing on the path that God obviously has shaped for me to go on. Actually, it probably elevated me a lot faster than I probably would have been, because I would have been stuck in my own ways and stuck in my own paths and stuck in my own goals. And so a little bit about myself that's not in my bio. I am a product of I would say, the devil trying to stop me before I even was existing in the world. My mother had me at a very young age. She was raped, ended up having me at 12 years old. She had me against the wishes of a lot of members of my family members for obvious reasons. You're too young to have a child. You know, you're going to have a lot of difficulties. We won't support you, you know, if you go through with this. And my mom just believed in her heart that she needed to have me. And so obviously, with my mom making that decision, because she's a very stubborn woman, a very strong woman, we had a lot of struggles growing up. I've never met my biological father a day in my life. I've never had a male role model in my home a day in my life. So for when people say, "Oh, you're such a great father," you know, their grandfather must be so proud. And I'm like, I'd imagine he should be, but I've never met him. And so my love for my children stems from me not having a father. I know a lot of times people have difficulties and they have situations that come up in their lives, whether one of the parents being an alcoholic or a drug addict. And sometimes I teach a class called Focus on Success at a private school in Tampa that is made for kids that live at or below the poverty level. And it costs about $16,000 a year for those kids to go to that school. And one of the exercises that we do during the 8-week course is a twins exercise. And basically we take two people that are quote unquote twins, and we take them from the same situation. In this particular situation, they both of these twins had a father that was an alcoholic, very abusive to their mother, very abusive to them, had a gambling habit, and one of the kids ended up going down the same road, and the other one went the completely opposite road. Graduated from college, got a beautiful marriage, got a beautiful business, great father. And the question was asked to both of them, you know, why did you turn out the way that you did? And both of them's response was, well, with a father like I had no other choice but to turn out the way that I did. So for me, I always say that it's not about, you know, what circumstances you come from, it's what you make of those circumstances and how you go. So I'm not really much of a preacher per se. Everybody always ask me, you know, when I come in, well, what are you going to speak about? I just, and I literally don't know what I'm going to speak about most of the time, but I do try to share what God has done through me with the hopes that it will inspire, motivate, and encourage others to not only believe in who they are, no matter what age you are, but also too to believe in the love of Christ and why it is that you have this opportunity to live a life not based on your mistakes, not based on how strong you are, how small you are, how old you are, or disability you have. It's really based on the love of God. And once you understand that, life becomes a lot easier. There's one verse that I know in particular relates to me on a daily basis, and I try to keep it in. It's Ecclesiastes chapter 7, verse 8. Better is the end of a thing than the beginning. Thereof, the patient in spirit is better than the proud in spirit. So a lot of reasons why we end up being in the situations that we are in is because of pride, you know. Nobody's going to tell me what to do. Nobody's going to tell me what I can't do, and that's a pride thing. And you should have pride in people when people tell you what you can't do. For me, I grew up in the projects, didn't have much of clothing. I had 3 pair of pants and 2 pair of shoes, both of which were what they would call talking in the back in the days, because every time I walked, you could see my socks. And so Obviously, growing up in that type of situation, I was a very angry individual. I was angry for a lot of reasons. I was poor, couldn't do things that my other friends were doing. I didn't have a father. I would try to play, well, I wouldn't say I was on the sports teams. And I would see other kids' fathers, telling them good job, even if they didn't play that much, or that they were even there just cheering them along, and that struck a little bit of a chord with me, because I wanted that. And I was angry also too, because I just didn't understand why my mom was the way that she was, at the time. And then at 17 years old, she revealed to me why. Once she told me about her being raped, and the circumstances behind it, my whole view of my mom completely changed. I used to be very angry with my mother. I used to not like her at all. I didn't want to go home. We bounced from place to place. I didn't have much of a stable living condition until I went to a place in Live Oak, Florida, my first time ever seeing a cow or a horse, or smelling, cow manure first thing in the morning. Which obviously I'm looking around, driving in here, you guys experience that on a pretty consistent basis too. But I went to a place called the Florida Sheriff's Boys Ranch, and it gave me an opportunity to turn my life around. I went to a camp in Bartow, Florida, and the guy, said, hey, we have a boys ranch, up the road in Live Oak, and I think you'd be a good fit for it. And so when I went back home, my mom talked to a woman named Barbara Wilfork. I don't know any Patriots fans here, but Vince Wilfork is her son, and he's a good friend of mine. We grew up together, and she knew someone with the sheriff's office, and so she called up there and said, hey, I want to try to see what we can do to get Thaddeus into the boys ranch. And the list is 1 million names long. It's still that way till this day, because it's a great facility and it changes lives, and it gives people opportunity that were quote unquote losers to become winners. And it's changed a lot of lives. Mine definitely has been changed. I would not be in the situation I am today had it not been for that place, for the Florida Sheriff's Boys Ranch, and I say that on a consistent basis. So I go to Live Oak, this very, very country town. I'm from the Palm Beach area, Palm Beach County, so it's very city. But I learned the value of hard work. I learned very early, and I've never been one to look at someone because of how they're dressed, because I was walking around with shoes that were talking, so I couldn't really pick on anybody's clothing. But it's where I learned really how God will use people from any walk of life to kind of get you where you need to get. And in today's society, and it's been like this for years, so we're not fighting battles that we haven't fought. But as an African American male, there are a lot of stereotypes that come along with being an African American male. And people say, oh, why do we always have to talk about racism? Or why do we have to always talk about sexism or gender equality? Well, for those that aren't oppressed, or those that it don't affect, they will never understand. But for me, I've lived it. I've been poor and black, and told that I would never make it to age 16, be dead or in jail. And at 13 years old, there was one instance where I lost a very close friend of mine, and he had his father was very active in his life, but his father was a drug dealer. But despite the fact that his father was a drug dealer, his father always made sure that he went to church. His father always made sure that he had clothing. His father always, at every football game, every basketball game, encouraged him and motivated him to make sure that he got good grades in school. And that was when I first found out, do as I say, not as I do, the whole adage of but and I looked at that and I said, when I become a father, I want that. I want to be able to talk to my kids about the value of education. I want to be able to talk to my kids about making goals and going for them. I want to be able to talk to my kids about making good decisions and being a man of character. And one thing I've come to learn over my 38 years of living is that regardless of what color my skin is, my character bleeds through a lot brighter than my color can ever take me. So when I didn't have money, when I didn't have, nice clothes or nice car, nice home, I had God. And I didn't realize it until later on. Not even really later on. It was two instances that I figured. One of the most, come to Jesus meetings for me was I met a homeless guy that used to be at our football practices every week in Live Oak. And he'd be out there every week, and we had a guy named Mr. Fred. Mr. Fred, somehow, I don't know how he ended up doing it, but he was very good with Publix supermarkets. So he used to always get like their stuff, their danishes and muffins and all that stuff, and he'd always bring them to practice. And so the homeless guy that used to hang out there, we used to give him a lot of the stuff. And I was walking from practice one day, and he said, Thad, can I speak to you for a minute? I didn't even know he knew my name, but and he said, I know you may or may not receive this, but I know that God has He has a plan for you, that He's going to use you in mighty ways. And I'm like, this is coming from a homeless guy that most people, I'm like, well, God need to use that same plan to get you out of the situation. That's the sarcastic part of me, just kind of, that's what I was thinking. But after he told me that, each day I started talking to him a lot, and I wanted to know why he was in that situation. How did he get in that situation? And so there was, he was a father, he used to be married, had a very successful business, but drugs kind of tore his family apart. And the one thing that I know, he always said, if I get an opportunity to do it again, I'll make it right. And so I started meeting with him like literally every Tuesday and Thursday after practice. We had JV games on Thursday, so we'd always get out of practice a little bit earlier. And it got to the point where he ended up kind of being like a team mascot, because I talked to Coach and said, Coach, can you come and help us with water and stuff on Friday? So then he ended up like being on the bus with us, and it was pretty cool. And then our booster club actually ended up getting one of our booster club members owned a bunch of car dealerships, Randy. This is where I found out that all car salesmen aren't crooks. So they had a double wide trailer, and he gave him the trailer free of charge, turned the lights on for him, and then gave him a job at one of the car dealerships. He was doing detailing cars and stuff like that. Tried to help him get back on his feet. But he still made sure he met with us every Tuesday. He met with me every Tuesday and Thursday, and got me going to church. He used to, at the Boys Ranch, we had chapel at the Boys Ranch, but it was very, very boring. The songs were, it was boring. I'll just leave it to that. So they had worked it out so that I can go to church with Mr. Blaylock and Mr. Purnell. Purnell was the homeless guy. And so we tried a couple of churches. You know, first church we went to was a Catholic church. And I'm not taking any shots at any church, so we all believe in God, we all serve God, so just understand. But everybody has all these different rituals and practices that just I don't understand. So I went to the Catholic church first. I got up and sat down 100 times. I literally felt like I was getting ready to do a workout of some sort or an unplanned yoga class. So I was like, nah, you know, this is cool, but I don't understand. And then they were talking, and I just don't understand it. So we sit down and stand up, and then they start talking and reading. The preacher would start saying all whatever, and everybody else is repeating, and I'm just looking around like, this is not in my pamphlet, y'all. Somebody help me out. So we did that like 2 weeks, and then we made a decision that I needed to try to find another church because I wanted my spirit fed, you know. So then we go over to the church, the Kojic, Church of God in Christ. And I got 1 million messages in like 20 minutes. They get up, they start talking, shalom, and then go on $1 million, and then the next pastor come up, and he's go do his thing, and then the next pastor come up, and I'm just sitting there like I'm in a tennis match. So all these things, I'm like, how somebody just settle this thing down, man. And I went to Presbyterian churches, Southern Baptist churches, and everybody's got all these different things, and it's great for whoever it works for, and that's one thing that I do like about faith, is that you once you find a church home, like that's your home, you know, that's your covenant, that's where you should be, that's where you're under. That's the reason why it's like a relationship, you know. You can't find out who to marry unless you date, unless you get lucky, which I didn't get lucky. But you got to go to different places, and then once God calls you to a certain place, then you know, like, this is where I'm supposed to be. So we end up going to a non-denominational church. I still go to a non-denominational church now, even though I speak at churches in everywhere, all over the world. And I like non-denominational churches because they just talk to me, you know. They just get a few scriptures and they let it relate to who I am. I don't need all the theatrics. I like good singing, but you don't have to perform for me. Like I feel like some pastors feel like they gotta perform, and some people are hurting so bad that even a performance is not going to be good enough for them. I'm not looking to feel good. I'm looking to get better. So Purnell was the first person that opened up my eyes to the homeless sector, the homeless demographic, which I still have a heart for today. I made like national news a couple of weeks ago because it was an unselfish act in my eyes, but in other people's eyes it was a heroic act or an act of humanity, but to me it's just an act of love. I was in San Diego, and Sean Merriman, anybody know who Sean Merriman is? Played for the Chargers. Great football player. He's now a announcer, or analyst for NFL Network and Fox News and stuff like that. But anyway, me and him were walking after a show. I had a show in San Diego, and we were walking from a place called the Yard House restaurant, and I saw 2 homeless people, and I walked past them about 100 yards, and I just stopped and walked back and said, "Hey, are you guys hungry? And or would you guys like something to eat?" I knew they were hungry, but would you guys like something to eat? And they was like, "Yeah, you know, if you can give us a couple $, we'll go over to the Subway and grab a sandwich or something. I was like, no, you guys come down here. I just ate over here at your house, and the food was pretty good. And I had like $140, so I walked down with them back to the restaurant and said, I gave the money to the manager that was up front and said, hey, can you please take care of my two friends here? And there was like this blank stare. And I said, it's not an issue for them to eat here, is it? And he said, oh, no, we can help them. And, but it was very uncomfortable. Still, like I say, every time I talk about it, it bothers me because it made me very upset. So I said, if you don't mind, if you can let them be served by the same server that served me, because he was pretty good. And he said, oh, and then that guy actually walked up at that time. And he said, oh yeah, he's cut off for the night. And I'm like, and the guy had a look on his face like I got like at least 20 more minutes left on the clock. And I said, well, can you give me somebody else that is just as good as him to serve them? And he said, we'll make sure they get taken care of. And so then I left with Sean. And then something just told me to go back. I know what the something was. It was just God just saying, go back. So I went back about 15 minutes later, and I saw them walking down the hallway. I went walking down the same sidewalk. And I said, man, y'all must have really been hungry because y'all ate that pretty fast. And they said, no, they just gave us or getting together a bunch of to-go food for us. And I said, y'all didn't want to eat there? He's like, yeah, but we just didn't feel like, we felt like they didn't want us there. And excuse my language, but I was pissed. So I went back into the restaurant and I asked the manager, and I said, I gave you plenty enough money for these two people to eat and give a very substantial tip. And all I ask is that you treat them like you treat everyone else. And he said, oh yeah, we were going to let them eat here, but they elected to get it to go, but we threw some extra stuff in there and blah, blah, blah. I was like, no, that's not what I asked you to do. I asked you to bring them in here and treat them like you treated me or anyone else that you should treat in this way. So I left. The other manager came out and he was talking to me because I was very visibly upset, quote unquote, the other word I said earlier. And I'm standing out there and I'm just waiting for this food to come out with them, and he's like, that's a very admirable thing that you're doing, for these homeless people. And I said, are you a manager as well? And he said, yeah, but he's over me, and I almost came out and try to do something about it, but he's my manager and this and that. And I said, well, next time you get in this situation, you need to let your faith be activated at that point. I think a lot of times in this world, people have a problem doing what's right because it's right, and they have a problem doing what's right because it's right because of political reasons or their fear of losing a job. Like for me, and WWE knows it as well, like there are certain things that you're just not going to have me do. And there's certain things that I'm not going to tolerate as a man, because I don't have to, not just as a man, but as a believer. And so if I would have dealt with this situation the way that I wanted to, in a worldly way, I would have been making the headlines for all the wrong reasons. So I got up the next day and I told my tag team partner, Darren, about the situation, and he was saying it was ridiculous. Darren's the first openly gay WWE superstar in the history of professional wrestling. And, people always say, well, how long did you know he was gay? And before he said, yeah, I knew he was gay. But that never affected me. It never should affect anybody, really. You're paying your money to be entertained. You're not paying your money to be judgmental. You know, if you want to be judgmental, then pay your money to go do something else. It's very simple. Darren's, and I've said it on numerous occasions, he's an uncle to my kids. He's a brother to me. He's slept at my house. He's sleeping at my house now because we have shows in Florida. And I just never, I guess my experiences with people at a young age that were gay, my English teacher, who was never my English teacher, I always say she's my English teacher, she's never taught me a day of her life. She was a gay white woman named Miss Roy Kramer. My 9th grade year, she grabbed me by the arm and said, I'm going to make sure you make it, young man. I'm going to make sure you make it. And I was like, okay. And the first thing she did, she told me that, you know, you don't miss practice and you should never be late at class. And so me, I used to always like try to push the limit. So I'll be going late to class, and she'll see, she had already told my teachers that if I'm even 30 seconds close to being late to class, to shut the door. Because I used to like joke around a lot in the hallways. So I go to class and the door be shut. And then she'll see me in the hallway. I don't know if she was like Kazoo. I don't know if anybody knows who Kazoo is. It used to just pop up anywhere. And so she would walk me. She would walk me down to the office. She was like, he was tardy. And I'm like, this is not even my teacher. Let my teacher walk me up here and tell you I'm tardy. But she did that for about 2 months, you know. And then I got hip to the game, and then I started being early, and I would get in the classroom like 2 or 3 minutes early, and then I would literally stand by the door and wait to see if I saw her in the hallway, and if I saw her, I'd be like, you're tardy. Shut the door. But she was teaching me the importance. She was like grooming me along the way, and then so then she went to my football coaches, and she told my football coaches or she told all my coaches, because I played football, basketball, ran track, and she said all of them. She said, if his grades aren't good, he can't play. And I'm like, this lady don't know me like that. I don't live with her. She ain't cooked me a meal. She ain't bought me a sandwich. She ain't did nothing. And she around here trying to call shots in my life. So she was very hard on me, and I never understood why, and which I spoke to a group of student athletes the other day, and I told them, like, that was the lesson that I learned in that was, you know, as parents, coaches, teachers, pastors, ministers, whatever it may be, you know, sometimes we do have a tendency to be very hard on individuals because we want to see them succeed. So I always tell kids, you know, as long as they're on your behind, you're all right. The minute they stop talking to you is the minute that they've kind of like gave up on you and moved on to the next project or the next person. So for any kid, even adults, you know, that are at work, you know, you feel like, man, my manager always tripping. I know we have an older demographic, so that means tripping means tripping means that they're always harassing them. They feel like they're always being harassed. So, but that same manager that's always on your behind, they may be grooming you to take their position or even take a position that's higher than theirs because they see something in you. So never be discouraged in the discipline of life or the discipline of people in life. Always be encouraged by it because it means that somebody somewhere sees something in you enough to the point where they're either grooming you for something at the present time or preparing you for something in the future. It's all in a matter of how you look at it. So don't get upset at people hating on you, and for the older demographic, hating means that they're like not really liking you because how great you are. So they will throw shade. Y'all didn't know y'all was gonna learn today, did you? I know sometimes we take stuff out of the Urban Dictionary and try to cultivate, put it into, you know, and try to mainstream it too fast, so I have to slow it down. Hey, It's okay. Well, anyway, using my platforms the way I've been able to use my platforms quickly to finish off that story about San Diego homelessness. So my initial thought was to go to the restaurant the next day, stand in front of it, point at it, have my partner take a picture of it, and just lace them on social media. But I say people always talk, they complain about businesses all the time. Well, the food was horrible and this and that. And if you do it on social media, most businesses, they will send you a reply, direct message or whatever, saying, oh, we're sorry about your experience. Here's a $200 voucher or whatever it may be. Hopefully your experience is better next time. Well, you can't pay me for that situation. That was wrong. So I said, instead of and they did that. Yard House did that. Oh, we're sorry. And I said, oh, no. They said, please let us know what happened in more detail, and so that we can correct the situation. They told me this on social media. So I replied and said, you had employees that worked there that saw the same thing that I did. So you asked them what happened in that situation. So I said, and I called my mom, because my mom knows I have, when it comes to being disrespectful to people or people being treated wrong, I still have that same temper that I had when I was before I was saved, and I want to fight. So I have to take a moment to figure out what it is that is the proper thing to do. So I said, I talked to my mom. She said, just pray about it, and God will tell you what to do. So I did. I said, I got it. I'm gonna go and find every homeless person I can in that entire area. And we're gonna go in there and we're gonna walk in there hand in hand like one big happy family. And that's exactly what I did. And a few people noticed me from wrestling. They said, and they were like, oh, can we take pictures? Can we get autographs? I was like, yeah, sure, but are you hungry? You want to go eat? We're going to go eat at this nice restaurant. And he was like, you serious? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, oh, no, you kidding me. And then one person left, and then the other person came, and I was like, go get your buddies, And they next thing I know, I had about 15 to 20 of them. And we walked in that thing hand in hand. And I wish you could have saw the manager when we walked in. It wasn't the same manager as the night before. I wish you could have saw everybody's faces when they saw people coming in wheelchairs and all kinds of stuff. And then one lady wanted to stay outside. One thing you'll know about family and people, period, no matter if you're homeless or you're rich or whatever, pets are a huge part of people's lives. And they will not do anything without their pets. They will lose their husband or their spouse before they let their pet go. So she was standing outside and she was like, I'd love to go in there and eat. Can you just order me some stuff to go because I can't leave my dog in here? And I said, no. I grabbed the leash. I said, no, the dog eating too. Come on. And she said, no, he can't. I said, yeah, he a service dog today. Anybody ask you, he a service dog. The dog sat in there, we got him a steak, he ate good too. So my whole, and I'm sitting, so I told him, I said, you guys can order anything on this menu you want, all you want, just you can't order alcohol. That's my only requirement. And to see these people eating steak and shrimp and all this stuff, and they were eating good and talking and laughing, it literally brought a tear to my eye. Well, it brought a few tears to my eyes, but I can't, I got to be tough because I'm a big guy, I want you guys to see that soft side in me. And you might try me, That's a swing on you. Swing on you means So I know I've thrown a lot at you guys, And I literally, as you can see, I didn't have any clear direction as to what I wanted to say. But I think sometimes just sharing who you are and the situations that you've come from and the situations that you've been in can be more encouraging than me sitting up here and reading, oh, well, go to Mark, chapter 6, verse 7, hit it. Go to Luke, chapter 8, verse 13, get it. You got it? Nobody's got it because everybody's just trying to flip through papers and pages and this and that. So I just go off of one or two scriptures that I know for a fact have worked in my life, and I try to apply it to everything across the board. So when God says better is the end of a thing than its beginning, that truly relates to me. Like, I was born fatherless of a rape. I was told my entire life what I would not do. You're too dumb, you're too stupid, you're too slow, you're too skinny, you're too this, you're too that. You'll never go to college. You'll never play professional football. You're too clumsy, too uncoordinated. All right, well, my thing is, here's where pride works in a good way. Because I had so much pride in the fact that I came from the projects and that my mom worked hard to try to put me in a position to be successful. And then I got to the Florida Sheriff's Boys Ranch, where a place where people invested in me that didn't have to invest in me from all walks of life. It's my daily mission to repay each and every one of those people that invested in my life, because them investing in my life has affected many lives. So I have a lot of accolades, a lot, two-time college graduate from the University of Florida, vice president of student government at the University of Florida, in the University of Florida Hall of Fame. I also graduated high school as a valedictorian. I'm the same person. I'm the same person that they kind of stuck away in the specific learning disability program because I was, quote unquote, a behavior problem. So for any educators that are in the room, this specific learning disability of behavior needs to stop. This is one of the reasons why I am very openly, contest the motives of our public school system, education system, especially in the state of Florida. We're trying to focus on teaching these kids how to take a test instead of teaching them how to learn. The FCAT, well, I don't know what it's called now, but the FCAT is the biggest joke, I think, in the history of education. Because when you go to college, there is no FCAT. When you go to college, if you have a learning disability, they give you more time on your tests. It's a lot of things that they do because, let's face it, I'll tell you right now, I hate math. So any kids out there that are struggling in math, I'm with you. I'm with you. I pay people right now to make sure that my math, as far as my finances are concerned, stay in order. Now, I can count money. I know I can read. I know, okay, this is wrong. I need more money. Y'all supposed to pay me X, Y, and Z. But as far as like long algebra and all, no, I tell my kid, don't come at me with that. We'll pay somebody to help y'all with that. But reading and literature and history, I love that. So that was my thing, and I always excelled in that. But I had to work extremely hard in order to be successful in math. So we're telling these teachers, we're putting all this stress on these teachers to pass this test and giving money to schools based on them passing the test but let's face it, like if a school is in an underperforming situation, 9 times out of 10, it's most of those schools that are underperforming are in situations that these kids are coming from. I mean, school is their safe haven. They're single parent, no parent homes. Education's not stressed in the home. They don't have anybody to go home to and tell them, how to put this together or that together. They don't have anyone even telling them that, hey, I love you. They got people at home telling them, all the wrong things. So before you critique or criticize oh, your school's better than that school. Your school's not better than that school. Your school's just got to get better resources, better opportunities to succeed than this one. But when the playing fields are equal, when the playing fields are level and the rules are treated the same, everybody wins. And I'm a perfect example of that. I was given an opportunity to be exposed to the right people at the right time in the right situations, and I took advantage of that, not because I was the smartest, not because I was the hardest working or the strongest, but because I knew that at the end of the day, that God gave me this opportunity for a reason. And once you realize it's a God-given opportunity, you try to start working a little bit harder to make sure that that opportunity comes into fruition to what is supposed to happen. So I'm not a perfect man, far from it. I don't think there's no man or woman in here perfect, but most women feel like they are perfect. That's why they have 30,000 words and we have 10,000 words a day. Honey, how was your day? Oh, it was good. It was all right. Honey, how was your day? To the wife. Oh, well, I woke up at 5:30 this morning and I prayed for Sister Elderly and blah, blah, blah. And they're going to give us 5:30 all the way through 7, and by that time we already dozed off. Yep, If you hear and yep, women, I'm going to let you in on a secret. You already lost us. You need to make it quick. Most men, we just want the solution. We just want the end, real fast, quick. But it is about learning how to communicate, and the best way to learn how to communicate is to learn how to love. When you learn how to love unconditionally, man, things can change in any arena, whether it be your marriage or family. I love those in my family that were stone cold alcoholics, and I literally saw love help get them out of alcoholism. You know, I saw drug addicts in my family and drug dealers in my family that once they found Christ, and once they really, it wasn't a matter of them finding Christ, it was a matter of them seeing the love of Christ in me and in other members of my family that truly understood what faith was about. My grandmother, bless her soul, she passed away in 1993 of breast cancer, which is why I do a lot of work with Susan G. Komen. But she used to say some of these things like, well, now you know, if you keep all that cursing, you're going to hell. Now you know, if you lie to grandmama, you're going to hell. Now you know, if you don't you make up your bed like your mama's supposed to, that's being disobedient and you're going to hell. I'm like, Grandma, you're not about to scare me into religion. Because that's what that is. It's like, you can't tell somebody who's going to hell and who ain't. That's not your place. That's God's place to say who's coming up with me. Because he has said clearly in his word, I will use the least of them. And he does. If you look at most very high profile pastors, preachers, deliverers of the word, whatever it may be, some of them are former drug addicts, drug dealers, they've been to prison, they've done all kind of stuff. I don't think the pastor's too clean cut for all that. Y'all got one of the good ones, I shook his hand this morning, man. He came in, and he was like, yeah, man, it's so great to have you here, this and that. I'm like, oh, it's great to be here, and this and that. He's like, yeah, if you need anything, let us know, and blah, 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 and this and that. And he just got this, this welcoming spirit about him. I was like, man, I'd come to this church if I was in this area. Come here. They call me up. They say, what you need? I said, I need some kombucha. They got kombucha in the office. They got it here. They might have it on the road, too. I just don't know. That's the only thing I require. But you guys do have a great, place to worship. You guys have and I think, don't get caught up in the fact that, yeah, I'm a member of the sanctuary. Get active and do things, that help promote this church and help bring more people that are hurting, just like you were hurting at some point. Some of y'all still hurting. some of y'all that are unhealthy or unhealthy in the world's eyes, but in God's eyes, we all can have the power to heal. So you need to activate that faith and do that. There have been a lot of days that I wake up in the morning and my ankles hurt or my knees hurt, same way today. And I just say, oh, I'm all right, I'll be up there. You know, I almost asked him for a stool because I was tired. But I realized that we had a generation of the older generation, and I couldn't put myself in a position to say, oh, I'm too old to stand up just a few minutes. I am 38, but I feel 48 some days. But you know, don't get so consumed in the fact that you're a member of the church, or if you want to become a member of the church, I welcome you to do so, because like I say, I'm a pretty good judge and I have a pretty good spirit of discernment when it comes to people. That's why I've been able to be away from certain type of situations, just because I can smell a rat, as they say, you know, long before they come in. But don't just get caught up in coming to church on Sunday, or what days you have on church service? Wednesday? Wednesday, Sunday, Saturday, Friday? No? Oh, yeah, y'all definitely should be able to make a difference in this community. You only got to come to church 2 times a week? You just got even better with me, boy. Some churches have you there Monday, Bible study, Tuesday, Wednesday, midweek service. The Wednesday, midweeks, I'm like, how many services do we need, Pastor? You know, but some people need that word that much, but you can get that word at home. You fathers that are out here, pray with your families on a daily basis. Like, I can't tell you, when I got divorced, I refused to allow divorce to be the reason why my family didn't prosper. And what I meant by that is that, like, there's nothing that will keep me from raising my kids. I don't care, like, I said this before, and it's like on a quote on a big billboard now in some places, but to me, fatherhood is a huge responsibility, but it also is the greatest honor that a man will ever have in his life. Greatest achievement, greatest honor. And so when you look at it that way, I look at it that way because I didn't grow up with a father. I also saw people around me that didn't grow up with a father, and a lot of reasons why I think that we have the issues that we have in today's society is not because of lack of resources or money or whatever. I think it's because of the lack of male leadership. So as men and believers that, you know, believe in the word, you know, I think that most cases people aren't expecting you to be perfect. You don't beat up people with scriptures. They just want to see you openly love others, regardless of what background they come from. When you openly love others, doors of opportunity will come flooding in your direction, because you understand that this building is just a building. Each and every one of you are the church. Young kids, older kids, midlife crisis kids, you all are the church. So the message from me today is very simple. Love others. When you really learn how to love others, you'll truly understand the value and the relationship that God has with you. Because when you can look past people's, you know, mistakes, look past people's racial, you know, backgrounds, their sexual orientation, when you can look past that and look at them as people, now you're on the path to do what God's called you to do. The devil will constantly put up barriers to keep us separated. And, you know, it's a shame that, like people said, when the same-sex marriage thing came out, and I said, you know, regardless of what my religious beliefs are, and regardless of what your religious beliefs are, this was not a decision based on religion. It was a decision based on the Constitution. So you guys are getting all upset and trying to throw Bible verses at this person, this and that, but what about the Bible verse that says love others, love all people? Number 1 commandment, really, is to love people. Yet we we keep this barrier up because you don't do things the way they do it and you think it's whatever. I don't care. I don't do it. It's not my thing. That's what makes them happy. Oh, well. But if they can go out, here's the crazy part about it. The gay and lesbian community are fighting to get married, and the church community is fighting to get divorced. The divorce rate in the church is higher than it is in the world. Yet the church tries to condemn those that are operating in the rules of the world, yet these people are trying to become families, make families, have kids, do things, raise kids that other people didn't want, adopt kids that other people won't adopt. Why aren't you doing that in the church? Why aren't you feeding the homeless? So I thank all of you for giving me an opportunity to speak today. I really didn't have a clue as to what I was going to say. And I'm like that at pretty much everywhere I go. I just kind of let God do what he does, and hopefully it helps some people. I really wanted to help some couples that may be struggling financially or spiritually. You know, I want you guys to make it. You know, even though I'm divorced, I'm a strong advocate to marriage. I believe in it. My ex-wife, you know, she believes in it. She's still been trying to get with me, and we've been divorced 6 years. But my thing is once, better is the end of a thing than the beginning. So once something ends, I don't go back. Some people do it and it works out for them, but for me, it's like I've clearly seen that my life has changed. My whole vision and purpose have changed because, you know, I'm not in that situation. But my kids' lives have also been changed too. My kids are like international stars. They've been on videos and TV and ads, and we're on billboards in Times Square and Chicago and all that stuff, all to spread the same message about fatherhood. So that's winning, in my opinion. And I think that that's why we're all here, is to win, regardless of anything that comes our way. God has equipped us to win. So if everybody will repeat after me, I greatly appreciate it. This don't always work, but maybe it'll work today. I am a winner. All right, Sanctuary Church. I know I've talked a long time, but you know, y'all need to stand up and say it, or stretch out maybe. I don't know. I'm a winner. God loves me. I'm a winner. I was born a winner. God made me who I am. For a purpose. Because I'm a winner. Doesn't matter where I come from. Doesn't matter the color of my skin. Doesn't matter if I have money or if I have nothing. God has consistently shown me that I am a winner. Therefore, from this day forward, I will walk like a winner. I will talk like a winner. I will act like a winner. Because I am. Because I am. Because I am. Because I am. A. Because you are. 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 Because we 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 are. Thank you.
Thaddeus Bullard. Let's give him a God bless. Great job. Great job. Thaddeus. Awesome.
Thank you.